Ladies and gentlemen, a renowned scholar once said that leaders who constantly lie to their citizens erode the trust and integrity of their office, creating a culture of deceit and undermining the foundation of functionality democracy. This is what is happening in this country. The state has deployed high profile officers to wink the public that government is broke. It is not broke, but the system is broken. Welcome to the bold analysis. I want us to relook this matter critically so that we separate the propaganda from the real facts and make sure you watch to the end, because there is something that government is not telling you. But then I have the luxury of telling you what exactly is going on. There is something that the state knows. You've come to public and to deploy the second in command and ministers that are attending events, weekends, and going to the far end rural counties. They're not saying those things in Nairobi. They're going to the very, very far end counties, their villages, and telling the villagers there that government is broke because they paid debts, and those debts are allegedly debts that Uhuru Kenyatta borrowed. And I wonder, where is the spirit of collective responsibility? So those who are telling the villagers there that they are broke because they are paying loans that Uhuru borrowed, someone should go and whisper to William Ruto that hapo unadanganya, kwa sababu you're not breathing any hope. If you are saying you are repaying loans that Uhuru borrowed, then where is the hope of change? Because yourself, you're also borrowing. So do you want to say that even the ones that you're borrowing now, the moment they will mature, you will stop paying people's salaries? The system is broken. That is what I want to tell you. You know, Professor Njuguna Ndung'u, who is a renowned banker and now the Treasury CS, is saying that they're in a financial fix because of these two reasons. Even though these two reasons, there is only one that you're being told, but the other one you're not being told. One of the reasons here is underperforming revenue collection. That's the reason number one. That is that the KRA has not collected the money they were targeting. They have not achieved their targets. I still don't understand why we changed heads at KRA. We changed head for political expediency, but truth be told, the team that worked with Uhuru Kenyatta actually achieved their targets. The one reason of underperforming, you're not being told, but you're being told of the second reason, which is paying budgets, paying repayment of the loans. However, there is one that, you know, that the three reasons. You're being told that we are repaying loans, but they're not telling you that they have not collected money that they wanted to collect. But Ndung'u is saying that narrow borrowing headroom. You know what's going on? They've also tried to borrow. They also have a problem of where they can borrow money. Sawa, Uhuru borrowed loans, and so we are repaying them. We've been repaying loans. Why didn't we collect the enough? We need to get those answers. Number two, very clear, very important question. Why has it become difficult for us to borrow where we normally borrow? Those two questions I'll help you to answer in this analysis. Apparently, the crisis started sometime last year. And let me just paint a picture of you for you so that you know where we are coming from. Now, salaries and pensions requires 54 billion monthly. Now, during the mass action that Raila led, Rigathi Gachagua told us that they lost 2 billion in that day. So does it mean government, even in Nairobi only, government makes 2 billion in a day? So it means what we collect in Nairobi only is enough for us to pay these things, these bills. So government spends 158 billion for payment of debts. How much we collect in Nairobi? Around 100 billion. 150, which was only in March. So do you know what has happened? The issue about delays is been a problem that is been nursed. It's an injury that has been nursed. Last year, those who are receiving, and this is from KBC, those who are receiving, they were supposed to receive their salaries before Christmas. It was a festive season, so they were supposed to receive as early as 15. It was pushed to 29th, 28th. Now that has moved on, and we've also gathered that there are other sectors that nowadays you don't know when you're going to receive your salaries, especially those who work. It has been moved from the 21st, 22nd, those who receive around that time, and the 26th team, and now it's about 29, 30. So it was pushed to 29, 30, that was in February. Now when it reached March, now this end of this March, now even those who are supposed to receive on 29th and 30th have not received. By 5th, there are people who had not received their salaries. IBC, exclusively, I have spoken with an IBC returning officer, a very good friend of mine, I should not mention where, is not received. So that also tells you that even IBC has been hit. IBC is a government agency. Counties are yet to receive for the last 4 months, and they have defaulted even in paying salaries. Only disciplined forces and teachers received their pay on time. Now, what do we know that you're not being told? Ladies and gentlemen, let me look at this. Look at me in my eyes. What you're not being told is that William Ruto, the local banks locally here, and the foreign lenders have declined to borrow loan to the Kenyan government. What is happening here? The crisis that they are telling you they are in is not new. They were expecting it, they knew, and if you want to know things are not right, look at William Ruto was in Rwanda to benchmark on revenue collection. The person going to Rwanda, recently there was a visit to Rwanda, if you check now, this was the visit to Rwanda. That visit was to benchmark on revenue collection because locally here, we've had a problem with revenue collection under the KRA. Number 2, we cannot borrow anymore. What's happening? William Ruto must fix. We are not broke, but the system is broken. We need to roll our sleeves and fix the system so that this system can pay us. Government is an employer, one of the major employer in this country. So, and politicians needs to be, I think we need to come out of the box. You cannot come out and go to the villages, and you know that's why these stories are being told in the village counties regarding going to Nyeri and Kip Murkom and going to Elgeyo Marakwet, where they know people are not paying rent in Elgeyo Marakwet. Here in Nairobi, people are paying rent. The bills are supposed to be covered. Now, if you are saying that you don't have money, have you started negotiating? Have you also told the tenants, the landlords, to bear with the tenants about rent arrears? Have you spoken with the Matri who carry people for means of transport? Is there that leniency? Is there bill leniency on the side of the civil servants that you can just have audacity to come out and say that people don't have? People are paying bills. People are paying bills. School fees is here. Quite a number. This is why the local and international banks have refused to give Kenya Kwanza money. And this one they cannot tell you. They cannot tell you this. Uhuru influence is in the banking sector. And someone warned us that let's not underestimate Uhuru Kenyatta because simply he's not a president. Uhuru Kenyatta is a very key player in the banking sector. And sometime in January, there was a high debate on which rate the government was willing to borrow loans from the local banks. And there's a very protracted debate on that. on at what rate? And I think William Ruto saying we are not going to borrow below or above 8%. I think if I'm not wrong. He capped the rate at which government borrows from the local banks. So that to some extent could have made them, probably they did not agree on the rate at which governments want to borrow. Number one, Uhuru has influence in it. So when we were going after Uhuru Kenyatta with all manner of weapons, they could also part of what he can trigger. And it doesn't, and when I speak about Uhuru, it's not just Uhuru Kenyatta as a person. There are also those who worked with Uhuru Kenyatta. They've been pushed out of the system. They've been pushed out of the system so that we fix people who sit politically right with the administration. Now, some of these people we are pushing out, also have a lot of stake in some critical sectors like banking sector, and they can pull a trigger. And when they pull the trigger, you stumble in such a crisis like a cash crisis. And I'm just shocked at the way the state has been so much brave going to tell the people, hatuna pesa. There is something that Kenya Kwanza will have to own up. Why, even at the international space, they're not getting money. Ruto inconsistency with the austerity measures that has put Kenya in a red list at the international space. Last year, we had a plan on some austerity measures so that we cut down our budget by 300 billion. That was in conformity with the IMF and World Bank demands to President Ruto. And that's where we had discussions about Kenya KQ and even selling parastatals here and there. We've had a lot of debate going on. So Ruto has been inconsistent because despite of that, we still saw wage bill going high by creating ghost workers, the name of CS. This is a CS. This is an office. We created an office that is gobbling salary and pension, with high allowances, with support staff, Did we get it? We did not. The same months we said we want austerity measures, the budget at the two offices was overdone. And they exhausted their budget before even what was needed, from 18 billion to 13 billion. So we did not see, the austerity measures was not seen because even the weekly foreign trips have been gobbling funds, So the international lenders are also seeing that as a country, we are not serious. And so we are at the risk of defaulting to pay the loans. You know why? The government themselves, these state officers have been yelling and coming out in public, saying the way Uhuru borrowed a lot and we want to stop borrowing because the debt is a problem with us. I've always said the problem has never been that we are borrowing. The problem has been on our spending. But then if we borrow and spend well, we will not run at a risk of defaulting. So the international lenders have also defaulted, and that's why I've also blacklisted us, and that's why Treasury is saying we have a narrow headroom to borrow. We went to, I think there was a suggestion on adjusting the debt ceiling. It has been adjusted. We can borrow, but who is going to borrow us? Because we said austerity measures, we didn't show signs that we really mean well for that. The other thing is there is a fear of unpredictables because of Raila Odinga's moves that has precipitated some lack of clarity in terms of where the country is. Just the last 2 weeks, we saw mass actions that stalled operations in Nairobi. Truth be said, for all those, there were three. I think there were only three. There was 20th, 27th, and 30th. The 3 days of that mass action, Operation Nairobi was at standstill. At the moment, the operation was in standstill, Kisumu was standstill, there's no movement of goods in and out of the country. Even some of the flights were cancelled. So, who knows? Maybe they're saying, we are not giving you money because we are not even seeing you guys operating. So you need to fix your politics first. Because who is going to borrow? Who is going to borrow someone who is at war? Someone who is fighting. And that is why, however much the Rigathi Gachagua camp will try to dispel a reality that Raila moves on voting on claiming victory cannot be underestimated. In the fullness of the time, they will have to contend with that reality because Raila is a force to reckon with. And lastly, could Ruto be falling out with the West? The West were his friends. The West were his friends. We've had discussions about LGBTQ, something I believed had the blessings of the executive, and after public uproar, the executive made a U-turn and turned against the West, calling them all sorts of names. We had discussions about the GMO deals. Did they go through? Is everything right between William Ruto's engagement with the West? China still is continuing the invasion here. We had the China Square, a war that I believed was a war between the West and the East. When it came out, and I think the West were they would be very interested if China would be pushed out of the Kenyan market. So this could also be an international sabotage at the international stage that they are not really willing to give us. I'm speaking about this because the KRAs don't collecting enough. We also not borrowing. We have been borrowing. Let us not lie that, by the way, Ruto said that we've been borrowing to pay debts. We've been borrowing. So all of a sudden, why has it become difficult for us to borrow to pay? We knew we were going to pay these loans, and we knew we have this recurrent expenditure. Why has it become difficult, all of a sudden, to solve these problems? The reality is with you. So gather it between the lie and the truth. David indeed told us that government is borrowing every Thursday, billions every Thursday. Okay, so that's it. Let's meet in the next.